My cousin Henry had an affair with his spouse, which resulted in 3 children. Following his job departure, they moved in with his in-laws. The affair partner became pregnant, leaving her to leave her job. My nephew lost his home after being evicted from her prior dwelling. My cousin's wife tried to address the matter. Finally, I had to put substantial pressure on my family to allow my cousin's affair partner and nephew to stay in my apartment in order to provide stability for my nephew. Certain restrictions were established. First, a monthly payment, largely for utilities. Second, a pet restriction, which the affair partner readily agreed to, considering the low rent and her future work. I received a portion of the rent in the first month, but no payments were made for the next 6 months. The financial weight of their presence became too much, forcing me to work more hours to cover bills. Despite several attempts to communicate and solve problems, progress remained elusive. After giving a 6-day notice to evacuate, I discovered that the affair partner was pregnant. Simultaneously, my cousin's wife removed him from their home, forcing him to move in with his affair partner in my flat. Despite my attempts to communicate, they lingered past the deadline, causing me to issue a 1-day notice. With no response, I took legal action and petitioned for eviction. Since serving them, my phone has been constantly ringing, with various family members expressing dissatisfaction. My mother campaigned for closure, insisting that my cousin step up as a responsible parent to both sets of children while prioritizing the needs of my own children. My father, on the other hand, reacted angrily, claiming that I would carry responsibility if my nephew and the unborn child were put into care. He believed my children recognized the sacrifice I was making by working extra hours to support the extended family and encouraged me to continue until the next baby arrived in 6 months. Am I wrong to ask my cousin's pregnant affair partner to leave? It also became clear that she was not utilizing contraception. The court date is scheduled for Thursday afternoon, when I will find out whether the judge will extend her stay, which is generally 72 hours. I'm considering whether to withdraw the case or give more time. Finally, my spouse and I have explored inviting the infants into our home, only them. This move is a huge adjustment for our own children, demanding adequate time for decision-making. My father recently paid me a visit, despite the enormous distance. His visit was characterized by frustration. I invited him to join myself and my children for lunch. After my children had done their Halloween trick-or-treating with my wife, my father tried again to urge me to accommodate my cousins. He said that their stay could not be sanctioned due to health concerns. I expressed my belief that my cousin should take responsibility for his children rather than relying on my help. Exhausted from endless attempts for someone perfectly competent in labor, I stated my feelings. My cousin is leaving in an angry state. We'll shortly have our first contact since his court summons. Even though my heart bleeds, this confrontation is unavoidable. I'm concerned about the judge extending their tenure, which could exacerbate the situation. As a result, I attended the court hearing today. Unfortunately, my cousin and his partner did not appear. The judge found in my favor and ordered my relative to evacuate the property by Monday. Failure to comply would prompt the constable to intervene on Tuesday morning. Initially, everything went nicely until my wife wondered whether it was our responsibility to notify my absent relative of the ruling. The judge requested that we bear the cost of having the constable deliver a copy of the verdict today. I gave the policeman all of the essential information, including my cousin's and his partner's planned appearance. After leaving the court, I received a call from both of my parents, and their voices united. While I explained the plan to my father, his silence was startling. My mother, in contrast, burst out laughing. To my amazement, I discovered that my cousin and his partner had outstanding warrants, which explains their absence from court. This ignorance resulted in the possibility of their detention today. Meanwhile, I have to wait until next Sunday to enter the rental property. If my cousin and his partner remain, they will have only 2 minutes before the cops arrive. Moving on to my cousin's ex-wife, she moved to her parents' house and became a homemaker when their son began having seizures. This child now needs constant care, which her parents help with. She currently works as a full-time receptionist and plans to pursue studies in respite care for ill children starting in August. My cousin's refusal to work influenced their decision to move in with her parents. While he had previously experienced employment swings, this pattern changed as a result of his relationship with his partner. It is important to emphasize that my severe allergies are what led to the no-cat rule. Unbeknownst to me, they purchased a cat a month ago, and I learned about it on Instagram. When I requested that it be removed due to my allergies, I was met with resistance because they claimed it was an emotional support animal. However, this allegation lacks supporting documentation, and my allergy requires monthly injections. As a result, the cat's presence may necessitate costly cleaning and carpet replacement. To my surprise, I discovered their legal problems, which my father had hidden. While my mother saw this as deserved payback for his cruelty to his family, I am filled with mixed emotions. With my flat inaccessible until Sunday, I'm concerned about my cousin's release from prison and have conflicting thoughts about our potential encounter. Given my cousin's wife's proposal to move into the rental house because of its proximity to both sets of parents, I requested time to think about it. Despite her sincere personality, I'm cautious about renting to another family after going through this horror. Here's the latest update. We arrived at the premises with the constable. My cousins were given a 1-minute grace period to gather their items and leave, which they honored. I found myself seated in the van, my cousins engaging in menacing conduct I had never seen before. Their behaviors were totally out of character. I remained in the car, choosing not to respond to their provocations. As a result, one lit a cigarette without bothering to gather their possessions. Meanwhile, their partner's angry voice boomed throughout the house, saying, "You promised me I wouldn't have to relocate. You promised that your brother would not drive me out." In a fit of defiance, my cousin slammed the door in the face of the constable who had come and locked it, refusing to leave. As emotions rose, more law enforcement arrived on the scene. My cousin responded with additional shouting, showing an intent to attack me. Surprisingly, they even displayed a handgun and threatened to use it against me. This signified an extraordinary shift in their behavior toward me. The police told me to leave and get some food, hoping that would help calm things down. Unfortunately, this technique was ineffective. Finally, law enforcement had to force their way through the front door. The spouse was given a stern 45-minute deadline to gather her possessions, but she stayed seated in the car, overcome with melancholy. We secured the locks and removed the remains of the hastily abandoned food. Shortly after, I received an urgent phone call from the constable asking for an inhaler. While I was not legally obligated to administer medication, I was required to return their ID cards. I made the 5-hour trek back and packed the necessary medication in one box and their important documents in another. When I informed the constable of my readiness, they arrived immediately. Handing them the boxes caused another emotional outburst. They made harsh comments and threats in an attempt to gain access to the residence. The constable intervened, telling them that recording on private land without permission was illegal and might result in a year in jail. This revelation halted their aggressive approach to the policemen, leaving me to seek further police help. In a peculiar twist, my cousin begged the police to arrest me, only to be told that the tables had turned and they were the ones facing possible incarceration. Amidst a cacophony of shouts, their partner grabbed the boxes and fled. I see the importance of confronting her again, but I'm thinking of getting a restraining order, which the police recommend. This series of events depicts the chaotic situation that occurred before me.